Good morning, everyone. Some of the things that we've been wanting to do is bring additional thought processes around how we can correct our bodies, but our energy and other factors around us. So today we have a special guest. Her name is Nanae Borger. And Nanae, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit for us?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nanae Borger. I'm originally from Japan. I've been here like 20 plus years. I studied performance, so I'm originally a pianist, but since 2012, I started doing like psychic reading, mediumship, healing. It just kind of came natural to me, and that's what I do right now, besides playing piano. So that's where I am right now. Try to help people. Yeah.
All right. So you said you were a pianist. What types of pieces did you play? What drove your musical career?
Classical music. I grew up listening to a lot of classical music, and I always wanted to play piano. And I took lessons like when I was young for a few years, and I didn't touch piano for like another 10, 15 years maybe. And when I moved to America to study, I didn't know what to major. So I was kind of like not sure what to study. Then like one day I had a roommate, she's an artist, and then she heard me playing piano. And then she looked at me and said, "Why you not study piano?" Then I was like, "But I'm not good. Like I haven't even practiced at all." And she's like, "No, I think you got something in you. You should really study piano." So right after I finished my community college, I went back to community college and then majored in piano performance.
Wow.
And yeah, then I got all the way to graduate classes and finished my master's degree in piano performance. And I literally couldn't even practice for 15 minutes when I started. I was tired. Probably my body was so tight. My brain was like so all over the place, and it was exhausting. But then little by little things got better, and then I could practice like 8 hours, and I got a scholarship. I got all kind of stuff, and it just really studying music, studying piano really opened the door for me, and I finally found who I really am.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I finally could find who I am, like not like I'm Nanae from Japan, but like I am a pianist, I'm a musician. This is who I am. I found my identity. So that was a huge thing for me. I definitely believe I came to America to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great
Yeah.
story. So Nanae, I know her because she is a client of mine and a friend. But as a client, I actually started working with her for a condition which we work with a lot, various types of dystonia. Yours is cervical dystonia, is that correct?
I got cervical and focal. Focal
Okay.
with my finger, and then cervical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you want to speak a little bit to that so we can kind of explain why movement was important to this condition?
Sure. So that was, I think, 2016. I was practicing piano as usual, and I was doing kind of a repetitive move over and over. And all of a sudden, I felt my finger kind of stuck. Then I was like, whoa, that's weird. And I kept practicing, and I started having pain on my hand. So I went to see my doctor, and he said, that's strange. Let's take like MRI on your hand, like let's make sure everything's fine. And we didn't find anything. So I came home and I started to look up things, and I said, maybe I do have a dystonia. And more I researched for it, like more it seems like that's what I had. And I went back to the doctor and talked to him about it, and he said, yeah, I think that's what you have. So I went to physical therapist for like maybe 2 months or so at the beginning, and things turned out better. And meanwhile, I started to feel tremor on my neck. Like I'm like sitting like this, and all of a sudden like my head started shaking. So I was like, that's strange. So I went to a neurologist, and she said, oh, it's just an essential tremor, like a lot of old people have it in their hand and stuff. And then I said, so it's nothing to do with dystonia? And she said, No, but I didn't believe that. My intuition told me, I said, it's everything to do with dystonia. So I went home, looked for like a dystonia specialist doctors. And then I went back to this new doctor, and then he said, yes, you do have a cervical dystonia.
Wow.
So that's where my journey began, because what happened is not just having a tremor, but I have a tremendous tension on my neck and shoulders that I had a hard time doing anything in life. So they were recommending to do Botox injection. And I tried about twice, and it was like made things so much worse, because I couldn't even move my, like, basically didn't like relax the muscle with the injection. So like I was like this, like I had to use my hand to like get up my head in the morning, because it's just like everything was like a numb and so like, and then actually the tension got worse. So I tried twice, and I say, you know what, forget it, this is not working, I need something else. Then I was searching, and then it was 2018, so it was about 2 years ago. I was like, you know, there should be like a group of dystonia, like a support group. And I started researching, and I did find it, this meeting and stuff. And the meeting was 2 days after I found the website, and it says it was your presentation that day, your guest speaker, and it says non-surgical, like user fitness and this and that. And when I read it, I said, this is it, I need to go. So I just went, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly I was looking for.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's when I met you 2 years ago. It's almost exactly 2 years ago. And yeah, it was hard because I'm not an exercise person at the beginning. It was very difficult to grasp everything and then work on it. But I did program as much as I could every day. And about 6 months, I realized, oh, wait, I have no pain anymore. I realized it was just all the pain was gone. And about maybe a few months after that, I've noticed like my tremor was really like reduced so much, to the point like people couldn't tell anymore. And a lot of my friends and family members told me, you know, I noticed you don't have a tremor anymore. And then, you know, I still felt it a little bit, but like it's not like so big, like nobody noticed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so ever since, like I've been doing this, and right now I almost don't feel tremor at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Only when I'm tired, like I'm sitting like slouching or something, sometimes I feel it. But to me, that's like a signal, uh-oh, I'm not doing something right. You know, I need to engage my core. I need to sit up. Like I need to do something. Like, oh, this, like my body is giving me a signal, like, you're not doing something right. You know, and meanwhile, my hand with the focal dystonia, because I've learned from Noel's and, you know, her team, that how to use my body is just really helped me to expand, play piano, and I can play the pieces I couldn't play before. And I'm still like on like this, you know, I'm not 100% there, but I would say I'm about 85% right now. And I can play all these pieces I didn't think I could ever play rest of my life because it was so difficult. But now I can play because I have no tension, and my fingers, arms, everything moves freely. And I just learned like how to engage with everything. So really, like, without Noel, I wouldn't be here. I'm still probably in pain. Probably things got so much worse. I really didn't know what to do. So
Wow.
everything started from there.
It's actually interesting to hear the story from my perspective right now, because you know, the journey that I've been on with you, you know, I'm very much into the technical aspects of all the different things we're trying to do with correction, and that's the first time I've ever heard it in its entirety, and that was it was very powerful, and thank you very much.
Yeah, really. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be playing piano the way I do. I wouldn't be having like this peaceful, like happy life, like my physically like capable of doing anything. I definitely like wouldn't be here. So yeah,
Wow.
so thank you.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about that is that I ended up meeting. So in my practice, everybody, my what we do is we analyze movement dysfunction, and then we basically see, okay, well, this is optimal. This is where you're deviating out of optimal movement patterns. And from there, create a corrective strategy of not only how to correct the structure, but how your brain is relating to the biofeedback and neuromuscular patterns. So I started working with somebody that had cervical dystonia, which I didn't know. I started with her for her shoulder. And as I was working with her and we were correcting the pattern, she said, is there any chance that what you're doing is affecting this condition I have, which I hadn't even heard of at that point. And she explained, and I said, well, I mean, potentially, tell me more about it. She started explaining kind of what the medical community did and didn't know, and how its conventional treatment was more on the lines of Botox, and even the physical therapy that they had for it is very, very acute locally in the area. But the treatment that we were doing just for overall rebalancing her body was helping the cervical dystonia. So I said, well, yeah, because essentially we're taking your movement pattern that was doing something different on one side and different on the other, and we're getting your brain to recognize balance, which is clearing up a lot of that neural pattern that can create almost like a hiccup, or I could see where that dysfunction was coming from. So from her, she asked me if I'd do a mini study. I did a mini study on about, I think I had 8 participants. We found the same, we found a bunch of really congruent components, but we also found that everybody had a significant change in symptomology just from balancing out their body. And so I ended up doing a talk for the dystonia group on how balancing out your body and changing the neural patterns can help, and your brain almost can regenerate and re-relate to both sides of the body evenly. And from that, I got a few more people, and again, huge results on just, the same thing. We're basically doing the same thing for everybody's body. We're looking physically what's there, and seeing how it's deviating out of what an optimal movement pattern would look like. And then from there, we're creating a corrective strategy of bringing you back into that pattern. And it's made some huge significant differences for sure. And like just watching you, even on this video, I mean, you probably had one of those essential tremors maybe every 5 to 10 seconds, I think, when I first started working with you.
Yes.
And
yep.
I mean, it's just phenomenal. Your posture's different, but also, like you were saying, bringing components of how your core is relating to your arms is part of what helped drive the fact that you needed to stabilize to be able to produce the motion. These are all components of things that I'm going to get into in other videos, because we're actually here because Nanae is brilliant at what she does. And we want to bring you some information in this stressful time where we're helping you get to move. But what are we doing mentally and emotionally for our stresses? We can palpably feel the stress out there. Nanae and I were just talking about how you could feel people being stressed out, and how do we stay stable in those types of times. And Nanae, you wanted to talk a little bit about that, right?
Yes, sure. So time like this, most important thing is you don't want to live in fear or anxiety. You don't want to stuck in a place, because that's all you feel, and that's all you see. And so what you want to do is you want to create the peace around you. And in order to do that, it's not environment, it's not the people, it's not media, it's coming from inside of you. So it's important to do like a grounding meditation, just whatever that is, just for you to connect with yourself. I think things are very chaotic right now because people are so disconnected with themselves. Like they're thrown by the medias, they're thrown by social network. They're just information's out there, and they don't know what to believe. They don't know how they feel. And I think this is actually, to me, it's like a great opportunity. You stay home, you have a quiet time, you have a lot of time on your hand, to the point that you can actually pay attention to yourself. Like, what am I feeling right now? What
Mm.
am I seeing? Why do I feel fear? A lot of people, I used to be like that too. Like when I feel fear, I just like pretend like it didn't happen. It's like, just move on. Things will be fine. If I sleep, things will be better. But no longer, I don't think that works. Right now it's kind of, we're forced to like evaluate like, where is our consciousness? Every little second, like we need to pay attention to what we do. And if you feel uncomfortable, even slight uncomfortable, or even a little bit of like you're angry, you need to really detect that, because it's so important to pick something so small and to be like, okay, why do I feel this way? And a lot of time it's coming from your childhood, even could be from past life, it could be various different reasons, but you can't just ignore it, and then because the little process like that, it takes time and it's a work. But when more you do it, more you get to know yourself, and more you accept in yourself, and you're so connected with yourself. So this is what we need to work on right now, I think, and I think it's, again, it's a great opportunity, because we're staying home, we got a lot of time.
You just brought up a really good point, because in order to correct things in the body, you have to identify, again, what's wrong. When you said you can feel things here or there, you now know what that language is telling you. Pain is a language, anger is a language, discomfort is a language. Like when we get disassociated from what we can potentially do, then we kind of leave it as this accumulating ball, right? So when I see people physically and they've had so much pain, they've just put it in this one big ball and put it on the shelf and said, I have pain. And what a lot of what we need to do is we bring that ball of pain in and say, okay, let's make sense of this. This pain occurs when this happens in your body. This pain occurs when this happens in your body.
Right.
The more that we bring it in and then give it you the power to change it, like, oh,
yes.
So if I then feel this, I can do that. If I feel this, I can do that. That empowers the next piece, which is a lot of what we're trying to do, even with the M4SL channel now, is how do you bring in more information, make decisions that empower you to do what you actually want. And it sounds like that's what you need to do energetically as well. Is to sit and say, why am I angry? Or where does that anger come from? Or to direct it the right way. Because anger could be telling you something very important. And at small stages, you could be making a better decision.
Right.
But big and hairy, ugly monster, all of a sudden it's something that we react to, and as a society can be very, very dangerous.
Totally. And then trust me, ignoring it so much easier. Pretend like nothing's going on with you. It's so much easier, But what I've learned, be more spiritual with myself, is the more spiritual I became, the more realistic I became. People think often these are not, like, it's almost opposite, but it's not. Like the more I get to know who I am, more I become more realistic. Like maybe 2 years ago, I couldn't even watch news because I've been avoiding all this. Everything negative, I'd be avoiding. But all that, really, it's just avoidance.
Yeah.
It's not making me change anything, So I started opening the door. Okay, why I don't want to watch news? Oh, because something's bothered me. But why I get bothered by this? Like I shouldn't be, So like right now, like this is where I am, and I kind of like look everything as a whole, so I don't get bothered by like a little things emotionally. But before, I was always everywhere, like something's like news, I was soaked in the news, so my emotions stirred up, and then I was like angry and I was upset, and anything, like the people I don't want to hang out, like when I hang out with them, I just get so exhausted. But I don't have that anymore because I'm so connected with myself. So no matter where I am, I'm me. Like it doesn't matter where I am, and that's very, very powerful.
It is powerful. I think though, now that leads me to the next question, I think, is when people are already spun up and people are already being tossed around by their situations and emotions, how do we even get to where we can start dealing with them? How do we get there? You know, like I know what process
Right.
I do, but this is what you do as a occupation. Like, how do people get there?
Yeah. So when I do reading, I don't like doing like a fortune telling things, and I'm not denying it. Like people do that, that's great, but that's not how I do things, because I really want people to live at moment, like this present. So is just exactly like what I do with myself too. So if somebody come with all kind of problem and they don't know what, that's only surface. Like let's say, oh, I have a problem with my boyfriend. That's only surface problem. So what I do is just I dig into it and why she feels this way, like why she's having this relationship, why it's going on. And then when I dig into it, it's a lot to do with the karma, like the past lives or the childhood, or something there like trauma, like some experience from the past. And so when I really find it out, they feel like, oh, that's why. It's
Mhm.
really not like because you're a bad person, this thing's happening. It's like never the case. It's usually something other than like what you realize what's going on. It's like something's out there, but it's still connected to a lot of different things. So
Mm.
I kind of dig into it and get there. And when I do reading, that's what I do. But eventually I started doing classes of grounding and stuff because I realized I want people to be more independent.
Mm.
I don't want people to be like, come to me like, oh, whatever happens, okay, because I can go to Nanae. Like, then that's not like you being independent. You're not responsible for your energy. So what I do is I teach people how to do grounding. That is the most basic things,
I see.
you know? Yeah. Because when you more you grounded, more you calm, more you feel peaceful,
Mhm.
and more you become more realistic. And then you start to look around and be like, okay, like I really need to take care of this. And you can accept whatever you need to do.
So grounding is a foundational force. Is it
Yes.
so you teach people how to ground because that helps them be fundamentally already rooted, I'm guessing, and then
Hmm.
in that that's what makes it harder for people to be pushed one way or another.
Exactly. Exactly. When you're not grounded, really literally think like your feet, you can't feel your both feet. Like it's
Mhm.
kind of like walking on a cloud, like kind of like walking on a fluffy surface, and you feel like, "Ugh, where am I walking? Like, what am I doing? And that's easy to get pushed by other people, information, anything like society, like any news, like it can't be like thrown by that. And you fall and you hurt yourself. But when you really root it and ground it, you really like nobody can do anything to you. You're
Mm.
like so strong and you feel so like powerful.
Wow. If I could make the analogy, um, it's very similar to what I do because,
Yes.
and this is something that I'm trying to get more and more. You were just mentioning people being able to do a certain amount on their own and being responsible on their own. And part of that comes with understanding what you can do, education, how it affects you. When we see people, we analyze this complex kinetic chain issue, right, of the movement.
Mhm.
But more than not, when people say my uncle has a back thing or that, I always say start with some foundational pieces on your own. There's so much that people can do on their own.
Yes.
Starts the
Yes.
process that gets you to a place where then you can go weed out these little tiny pieces,
Right.
right? Like then when they
Exactly.
come see you, you can weed out the little stuff because they're already doing this fundamental,
Hmm.
um, bigger piece. Just like I
Right.
give people, a fundamental bigger piece of rolling their quads is probably being a part of a back issue. This grounding sounds like this can be a fundamental piece that helps at least start narrowing things into
Right.
digestible pieces. Would that be a fair way to say it?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Like, I mean, I feel that all the time, like with you, what you do.
Mm.
What we do is ultimately we want to make people happy. We want to help people
Mhm.
and we want to make people independent. And then, of course, we have different way to approach that. but what we're doing eventually, it's really essentially it's same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where you can move more into
Mhm.
a, like with you, I've moved more into a performance or a support role versus this underlying correction role, you know?
Right,
Yes.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe like first year and a half, like I feel like, oh my gosh, like I cannot like live without Noelle and her team. Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? You know? But now I feel like I got all the information that you gave me, all the tools. So, oh, this hurts a little bit. Okay, this is what I need to do. Oh, this is what I need to pay attention. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just that's what it is. Like, I feel like, okay, like I can take care of it. Like otherwise, trust me, right now I'd be panicking, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what interesting is that people that I'm speaking to a lot of my clients, and I can look at their squat online. I can do some analysis and some troubleshooting with them. But a lot of people are needing to turn right now to their own resources and dig into
Yes.
spaces that they weren't willing to dig into before. I think they're
Right.
doing that physically, but they're also doing that emotionally and interpersonally, like digging into relationships, digging into, just various pieces that are not working for them.
Exactly. So basically, like take a responsibility of your life, you know? And a
Yeah.
lot of people, that's the avoidance coming from because they don't want to confront, And to me, like I understand because I was one of those people. It's very scary to confront your weakness. You don't want to be vulnerable, like you don't want to show vulnerability to people. And I understand that. But without that process, like you can't go anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
So you have to admit, like, okay, like I need help, but like I can do this much.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like really learn about yourself, like what you can and what you can't. And with certain things you can't, of course you can get help,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't not think like I always need help. Like that's how my like, when I started with you, like that's how I feel. Somehow I feel like, okay, if I keep going, probably I'm going to be better. But then sooner or later I realize it's like, oh, it's all up to me.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, because when you came as a guest speaker to this on your meeting,
Mm-hmm.
your testimonial from actual like people were like amazing. That was my inspiration because they were telling me like I couldn't even move because my dystonia got so bad. I was in pain 24/7. I couldn't even get sleep. And they started coming to you. They look completely normal, just talking, like moving, and like, what? You have a dystonia,
Mm-hmm.
And other people did. It was so amazing. But I remember they all say, but it's a commitment. It's a lot of work. I remember they didn't forget to say that,
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to find like quick solution, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
injection. And if the injection works, by all means, like go for it, it's easier. But if that's not working, instead of looking for something easy, quick solution,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's like, oh, maybe there's other alternative like I can do,
Yeah.
and for me, that was you.
And I feel like that what that comes down to for me, education is a piece, finding the root cause of what you're trying to correct and not just chasing symptoms. Like people like to
Right.
chase symptoms all over the place in everything. You're just talking about like a quick, easy, like magic pill solution.
Right.
Do this exercise for all back pain. Do this for all that. Do this,
Mhm.
but it doesn't exist. We're much more dynamic, complicated people. Even though we may have similar situations, there's little nuances that make it uniquely ours.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
when it comes to grounding,
Mhm.
I guess, can you give everybody kind of an idea or maybe a small snippet? Because obviously, if you're doing a workshop around it, it's
Mhm.
complicated. It's not easy to reduce, just like what I do is not easy to reduce.
Right.
Can you give them a small piece of something that they could tangibly think of or feel to see how that would be a small step towards what you're talking about?
Yeah, of course. So the whole process is you kind of need to understand your chakra so that way you know what to align. But basically, like the core of your body, like you need to align with the earth, so like you send the energy from you create energy, and you send it out to the core of earth, and you anchor it, and you bring the earth energy back into you, and then you do this every day. That really helps you to stay grounded. That's like a completely quick version of it. And also, what I do is just like I connect with the universe, and then I invite the universe energy, and now mix with earth energy, and then like clean me, like cleanse me, and then like have that energy around me. So to me, that's like the balance.
Right.
You can't be all spiritual and be unrealistic about it, because we have a physical body. We have to take care of it. That's why what you do is just extremely important, as well as meditation. They're both equally important, not like, so you connect with earth, you connect with the universe, and now you align, so basically what you do is alignment. It's the same thing. You want the alignment.
Can you tell me a little bit more about chakras? I'm so fascinated by chakras, and
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
So we have 7 chakras in our body. And the first chakra is basically bottom of your spine, like, between your legs. And second chakra is like right above around your stomach. And third chakra is what is it called? Solar plexus. Is that what it is? Yeah. And the fourth chakra is your heart. And fifth chakra is your throat. Sixth chakra is here, so-called third eye. And seventh chakra is right here on top of your head, and it's called crown. So first chakras are more like a earth material, type of like chakra. So, it's like a survival or sexual, emotion, all the stuff. And fourth chakra to seventh chakra all the way to the crown, these are more like a kind of cosmic chakra, like we connect. So that's why it's important to balance all the chakra, not just like one open and everything's closed. So what happens is if lower chakra is wide open, but these are completely closed, people see things only like this. They cannot see at the big picture because they're losing perspective, because they don't feel anything. They just see only what they see physically. That's all they believe. And they believe that's all exists, And then opposite, like somebody's wide in the upper chakra and the bottom is all closed. Those are the people, again, like they're not balanced. They're just always thinking like, kind of like, oh, like, if I pray God, like everything's gonna be fine. I avoid this type of thing. It's very unrealistic people, I would say it. So you need to balance both of them, so that way you can take care of yourself, like physically, also spiritually. Then we need both. So a lot of people like to me, it's like a yoga is a very good example, because yoga, you meditate and also you take care of your like a physical body. You do both. And I don't think it's a coincidence so many people get into it, because it's just people feel it.
Yeah, and it's a way to bring the two together, right? Like how you bring your feelings and physical together. A lot of people, you live in a ball of, again, separating that. I just had to start doing lawn work. You don't hear? Do you guys? Do you hear that? Or are we good?
A little bit, like a little buzz.
Okay. But yeah. So the physical and that mind body, right? People talk about this mind body. It's actually a buzzword, this mind body. People are constantly doing it, but in a lot of ways, I don't think they really understand what they're talking about when or what they're trying to achieve in that mind body connection. So it becomes for some people kind of empty or some sort of like grasping. Do you see that as well, or?
What do you mean by that?
I guess I think people want to have a mind-body connection. or they want what it sounds like it would be, or they see
Mm-hmm.
people do it, and they
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
go do an action because it's supposed to do it, right? They go to
Right.
yoga because it's somehow supposed to give them some sort of relief.
Right.
They're not really taking in what you need to take in
Right.
to achieve what
Yeah.
that really is, because they're still too spun up. I think it was you the other day that said people right now are living in the past or the future, and they're having
Right.
a hard time being in the right here now, the present moment,
Mm-hmm.
which is really what that takes, that mindfulness training. um,
Mm-hmm.
Would
Great.
you
That's
agree with
all
that?
about, yeah, mindfulness is all about. So yes, it happens a lot. Some people go to like so many workshop and seminar of like mindfulness and this and that. It's almost like they start by going and attending,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't apply to themselves. It's like what you do too. People come to you every week, but they don't do none of them,
Mm-hmm.
same thing.
Yeah.
So it happens a lot. That's why I'm shifting from just doing a reading to more teaching, coaching type, because I want people to make sure, not just like, I feel so much better today. Thank you, Nanae. And then go right back to where they were.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Not like that. Like, I don't think that helps. So what I was like, oh, they do it. So when I see them next time, I was like, how was it? Tell me,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then once they get used to it, they like it, because it's such a great feeling,
Mm-hmm.
of
Yes.
being mindful and to be at the present, because that's like a best feeling ever,
Yes.
so that way you have no fear. You're not dragging your past. You're not daydreaming about future all the time. You're really at the present, and you enjoy the moment. Like you talking to your friend, not thinking about like, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do tomorrow. No, but you enjoy actually talking with your friend,
Mm-hmm.
you
So
have fun.
do you think some people, it's hard for them to initially get into that space? Because for some people to be in
Yeah.
their here now, just like when I drag people into their here now with the physical motion, they realize sometimes the pain that they are experiencing, they created themselves. And that can be really hard to metabolize and feel like you were maybe a part of it or not a part of it or whatever. But after you start taking those pieces apart, then people start getting empowered. Would you say that that would be the same uh, experience in what you do?
Yeah, I think so. Like a lot of people, again, like they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to accept their weakness. But you know what you cannot forget is, as a human, we have both strength and weakness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a human being. We can't be just strong and never weak. We always win, never lose. I'm always this and then never this. That's not human. We are born as like almost like a package of positive, negative, you know, and this like dark and light. It's all packaged. So that's why to me, it's just like I always advocate people, balance is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of stay neutral. So when you go to the negative, it happens to everybody. You try to stay positive, but you drag into the negative. But it's okay, it can come right back
Mm-hmm.
if you have a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Do grounding. If you don't have a balance, you go to negative. Unfortunately, a lot of people just stuck there, you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point for a long time, they don't even know how to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's
then they get glued in fear at that point.
totally, that's fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, fear, anxiety, all that stuff. It's all negative. And then negative is not necessarily a bad thing, because we do need to worry about things, right? Like we can't be like kind of like la la la, like just optimistic for everything. Like who's gonna do this? Like right now, what's happening today? If you're like optimistic, la la la, there's not gonna be no doctors and nurses.
Right.
So we have to be realistic, and then negative come with it. But the most important thing is how much you get affected by that.
Mm.
You know?
That sounds like where grounding would be really, really important, because you have to be able to balance these pieces, but you have to be rooted when you balance these pieces.
Exactly.
Same thing in movement. I might want to strengthen something or other, but I have to have you rooted to your core and to the ground. So it seems very, very congruent.
It is, because I remember when I was doing exercise with one of your teams, and I remember she told me, it's like, Nanae, like, stay grounded, stay grounded. And I was like, oh, like physically I need to stay grounded, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, duh, like I haven't done it, you know? And I remember that moment, like I could do a lot of things much better, you know, with your exercise and program, because I realized I was not really grounded physically.
Yes.
You know, so it's really same, like we have both physical and like spirit, so we really need to have a balance, like and again, it's really the same thing.
Yeah. Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to participate in a workshop with you, how do they do that?
You know, I haven't planned it yet, but I can definitely plan it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's hard because I've been doing it kind of like through my blog, which I write in Japanese. So I haven't done anything here. But recently, it just realized I said I really do want to do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the future, yes, I would definitely do it.
All right. Well, I know that it's important, especially during this time, and I'm trying to get resources and put things together for people right now, just so people have healthier or more positive alternatives, because it is so scary. You know, maybe we'll see what the interest is, and then maybe we can put something together for them.
Yeah.
You know, and that can help with what's happening right now.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I mean, do you have any advice? What if you were to give people the biggest piece of advice right now
Mhm.
in crazy, stressful, sometimes sad times? I actually got a text message from one of my clients yesterday that she had two close family members pass away yesterday from the
Oh,
coronavirus in New York. And like, just that there's so much intensity in what's happening right now. What would be your piece of advice for everybody?
I think the easiest way to do this, I do every day, is really set intention for the day.
Mm.
You know, don't think about the big goals and all the stuff for now, because every day the live at the moment is extremely important at this time. So I set the intention, the what kind of day I want to have, and eventually, like, you know, what kind of day I want to have. I want to have fun day, I want to have exciting day, but most important thing is, how do you want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what I always said, this is like every day I do this, okay, I want to feel peaceful, I want to feel love, and I want to feel happiness, because I have all that. All I have to do is just almost like, you know, just like feel it. We all have that in ourselves. It's not coming from outside. So by kind of set the intention that, like, oh, you know, say it every day, it really helps to get there.
Yeah.
You know, because I remember like when my mother-in-law passed last year, everybody was going through a difficult time, and I was keep asking when I meditate, what can I do? What can I do? Like, can I pray for them? And they, you know, I got the message say, pray for their peace, because when you have a peace, you can't get over, you know, and you can face things. So peace is like, to me, is like the most important thing right now, and I think what people need right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That just actually gave me chills, because I absolutely 100% agree with you, and this is such an important message. I just can't, you know, get over that. I I'm going to be, you know, putting this interview online, but I'm also going to be doing making a podcast with it, and so people can listen to it in its entirety and that type of thing. And you know, I hope that we can hear more from you in the future, because I really do. I see you're such a powerful force, and working with you has been amazing. And You're just so inspirational. You'll say these little tidbits of things that are so thought provoking. And I want you to know that you've just been so monumentally important to us, M4SL, and like the team. I know Amanda, everybody. My wife just adores you. And like, I just really thank you for coming on and talking to us and giving us this information. And, I want to hear from you again very, very soon.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I'm gonna say, everybody, we're gonna get you more information and hopefully more topics similar to this. And let us know what you think, what you thought, whatever media that you're watching it, and tell other people about it, just so that we can, put more just information that can be helpful and building. So I appreciate all of you so much, and we're gonna see you soon. Bye.